WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange says he fears the U.S. is getting ready to indict him.
Meanwhile, the Pentagon denies having mistreated the suspect who allegedly gave classified information to the website. An anti-war group claimed Private First Class Bradley Manning spends at least 23 hours a day alone in a small cell. A Defense Department spokesman says Manning enjoys the same privileges as all other prisoners. Assange, who's wanted in Sweden on sex charges, says he fears he may eventually be sent to the U.S. on charges related to WikiLeaks.
The bigger issues now is the case that appears to be building against me and possibly other members of our staff in the United States. That's very concerning.
WikiLeaks has released classified information about the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, as well as sensitive U.S. diplomatic cables.
Now, some U.S. lawmakers want Assange and WikiLeaks prosecuted as a terrorist organization. I discussed the issue tonight with former Georgia Congressman and AJC columnist Bob Barr. Bob, should the U.S. try to prosecute Julian Assange, and if so, how, in your opinion?
They shouldn't try and prosecute him. We do have something in this country, whether the government likes it or not, or whether it's inconvenient from time to time, called the First Amendment. And if somebody publishes information that they've received, even if it's embarrassing to the government, they cannot be prosecuted for that. And that's especially true when you're talking about political and public policy type issues such as we see here.
Now, a new Fox poll shows the American public want Bradley Manning, the private first class who was apparently Assange's source, tried and punished, 83% in fact, and 66% want Assange prosecuted. Is there a difference between the actions of the two of them in your estimation?
There's a very important difference, Russ. Manning is a government employee in the military, and he has not only an obligation in that capacity, but probably a contractual relationship with the government. If somebody in the government takes government information that is classified, whether it's secret or confidential or code word, and releases that to somebody in violation of their duties and their contract with the government, certainly they ought to be prosecuted.
But, you know, Assange has made it clear that he wanted to damage the United States. Does that at all hurt his argument that he's just a media guy doing a public service?
Not really. One has to look, if you're going to look at prosecution, you have to look at the information itself first and foremost, and then you have to look at the intent. In this case, there does not appear to be any information that Assange released that is military, national security, harmful to the country. Embarrassing, perhaps, but militarily or national security-wise damaging, apparently not.
Well, after 9/11, the U.S. security agencies tried to talk to each other because apparently that was a problem before, and the walls came down. I guess the walls are going to have to go back up, aren't they?
Clearly, the government has an interest in protecting information relating to the inner goings-on in the government and the advice that people like Secretary Hillary Clinton receive and so forth. The government, and as a result of this instance, ought to take a much harder look at itself, not worry so much about Assange, but take a look at how this very low-level employee was able to get access to so much classified information and apparently was so easily able to collect it and get it out.
Yeah, I mean, it would seem like it would be easy for the U.S. government to make sure that a private first class in a forward base wouldn't be able to have access to that information in the first place and download so much of it.
Clearly, this is a problem for the U.S. government. They need to get their own house in order. They should take action against this individual. But trying to shoehorn into our espionage laws, for example, somebody who is operating on the Internet and trying to simply inform the public about what's going on in government, that should not cut it under our system of laws and the Constitution.
All right. Well, a lot of Americans feel otherwise, but you make a strong point. Bob Barr, thanks very much.
As always, thank you, Russ.
Now, the Fox poll found that 38% of Americans think newspapers like the New York Times and Der Spiegel in Germany should be prosecuted for printing classified materials leaked by WikiLeaks. Bob Barr says in the Internet age, there's very little difference between WikiLeaks and other media outlets.